am 22 years old, a self-employed artist, and I make at least $8,000 a month. Today I'm going to try something new. I'm going to be standing the whole video because my back really hurts. A couple weeks ago I asked you guys on the YouTube community tab to send me questions for me to answer. And I also asked all my Instagram followers, so I got a ton of questions and I categorized all the most popular questions into these big sections. So I will put chapters at the bottom of the video so you can fast forward to whichever question is most pertinent to you. So yeah, let's just get started. I think I should address the elephant in the room, which is money. How much money do you make regularly? I've been thinking of starting an online shop in the future and was wondering how profitable it is. Understandably, there's a large stigma against being an artist. I got a ton of questions asking, how is this profitable? How are you making a living? Does your boyfriend support you? So many questions like that. And I just want to give a disclaimer that I'm no stranger to financial instability. I'm not a nepotism baby. I chose art because I knew I could feasibly do it on my own. And I think that sentiment is very uncommon to see portrayed in mainstream media. You see the starving artist, you see the romanticized artist, but you don't really see the artist that has a business mind. The artists that are super smart when it comes to finance and they're self-employed, they're entrepreneurs. I feel like artists aren't really given enough credit where it's due. So I guess I'm just saying this to preface that if you are thinking about having a small business or having an art business, you can definitely make a living wage out of it. It just takes a lot of work like anything in life. Since last August, I've been consistently making around $8,000 a month just from my online shop. And keep in mind, this is gross sales. So that's before all the taxes and the expenses of running a business. But in the fall, I started taking YouTube very seriously. So since October, I've been making at least $700 in AdSense a month. Through Instagram Reels, I make around $150 a month. And then throughout the month, I'll typically take on a couple brand deals. And each brand deal, whether it's for YouTube or Instagram, will pay me at least $1,000. So to summarize that, I basically have 2 to 3 streams of income depending on how you see it. I see it as 3. So the first one is my shop. It's me selling my art. The second one is social media, which is YouTube AdSense and Instagram Reels bonuses. To me, those are more stable than brand deals. I know once a month I'll get a check from YouTube and once a month I'll get a check from Instagram. So those are sort of fixed amounts. I mean, sometimes I'll go viral on Instagram and I'll get like 10 more bucks than usual. But that's the second way I make money. And I know other artists who are way bigger on YouTube, so they make way more than me when it comes to AdSense. And then the third stream of income is brand deals. This can be integrated content for YouTube, a dedicated Instagram Reel or UGC videos. And while each deal pays me about $1,000, I typically get paid 30 to 60 days after I submit that video. So it's not something that I can bank on every month. It's just like, that money will come eventually. So yeah, with those 3 streams of income, I'm on track to make $96,000 a year. Of course, running your own business and being self-employed comes with expenses that a 9-to-5 just wouldn't have. Like I have to save a chunk for taxes, I have to pay for subscriptions like my shop website, my QuickBooks membership, my Epidemic Sound membership. Of course, there's all the supplies and materials I need to run my business, packaging supplies, clay, paint, a computer. I recently had to buy a new printer because my other printer broke down. Like all these things that I spend money on for the sake of my business. But at the end of the day, I'm still making a living wage with extra to help support my family. And I also have the freedom of being self-employed. Diversifying your revenue streams is one of the most important things that I've learned. It's the same idea as not putting all your eggs in one basket. So I'm not relying just on my shop. So if my shop were to have a really bad month, I could still pay for rent and food with my social media money and vice versa. I could focus more on revving up my physical shop and selling at markets and fairs and stuff like that. And if all else fails, I can always get a job. And with my self-employed experience, having a business, gaining over 100,000 followers across all platforms, I would still make a strong candidate for graphic design, marketing, etc. I do want to add a disclaimer that my cost of living is probably lower than a lot of other people my age. I rent an apartment in the city, but I have 3 other roommates to share the rent. So I only pay about $750 a month. And I also don't own a car, so I don't have to pay any of the bills that comes with having a car, like insurance, parking, maintenance, none of that. I occasionally help Mr. Uncomfy pay for the gas, but that's about it. Before we get on to the next question, I want to take a moment to briefly thank the sponsor of this video, HelloFresh. So my roommates and I have a system where we take turns cooking for each other, and I'm gonna be honest, since we moved in together 5 months ago, I only cooked dinner for us once. With running my business and going to school at the same time, it seems so exhausting and intimidating. But thanks to HelloFresh, today I decided to surprise my roommates and cook dinner for them. Eating healthy and filling meals gives you the energy to achieve your goals, and it's so comforting to know you always get top quality ingredients with HelloFresh. These ingredients travel straight from the farm to your door in less than 7 days, and I love that my delivery came to me carbon offset. Cut back on your expenses and get started with HelloFresh. It is the fastest, easiest, and most affordable way to whip up a restaurant quality meal right in your own kitchen. This meal that I'm cooking right now took only 30 minutes to make, and it made cooking seem so simple and fun again. The biggest plus for me is that there's no more stressful trips to the grocery store. On this channel, we're all about saving our energy and time so we can do what we love. So go to hellofresh.com and use code uncomfycode21 for 21 free meals plus free shipping. How did you learn all the finance and behind the scenes stuff to run a business, and do you have any advice or can make a separate video on it for beginners? Love your work, by the way. Thank you. Before I answer this question, I am not a financial expert. This is just everything that I've learned from my experience, and I've made many mistakes. So yeah, take everything I say with a grain of salt. So regarding how I get my information is I follow a ton of other small businesses and I see what they do, and I learn through observation. And of course you want to Google everything, double check everything, look up small business finance videos that are made by financial experts, learn from people you can trust, like literally pay for a CPA if you feel like you cannot do the research, because it's better to spend money hiring an expert than messing up and losing a lot of money. But just for beginners, let's say you've been selling on Etsy for a while and you've been ramping up sales and you think, wow, I could do this for a living. I want to make a business out of this. I think once you get to the point where you can imagine yourself quitting your day job and pursuing this business full time, that's when you should get a separate bank account. For me, I did this pretty late. I was selling on Etsy for a whole year. I made over $20,000. I finally switched to my own website and got a separate checking account. You can literally go to any local bank, your Chase, your KeyBank. I opened an online checking account through Novo just because it was like on NerdWallet's list of best checking accounts for small businesses, and from then on, every purchase I made for my small business, I charged it to that checking account and not my personal account. This makes things way easier for yourself when it comes to tax season, because on tax forms there'll be sections where you can put in all the expenses that you had, all the things that you spent money for your business, and it's so much easier looking at your business checking account rather than your personal. Regarding expenses, a lot of people like to keep receipts. I'm not the type of person to keep receipts. I'm the type of person to chuck them in my pocket. So that's why it's extremely important for me to keep everything in my business banking account so I can categorize them. I use the Intuit QuickBooks Self-Employed app. You can categorize expenses based on the different categories there are on your tax forms. So that way when you file your tax return, you can get some of your money back through deductibles. Now looking a little more into taxes, I think all beginners should start with Etsy just because they provide you with the form. They give you a 1099 form at the end of each tax year, and it's the same form that all contractors get. Like if you do DoorDash or Uber Eats, they'll provide you with a 1099 to file your taxes because technically you're a contractor for them. Same thing with Patreon and YouTube, I think. But let's say you want to forego Etsy because they take a huge cut of your money and you just want to go straight to Shopify or Squarespace. That is your own shop, so you have to file your own taxes, and that is why being diligent about keeping track of your expenses is super crucial. If you're way more diligent about it, then it'll be way easier for you. To file my taxes, I use Free Tax USA. They do a free federal income tax return, and it's $15 to file for your state tax return. I just realized if you're not in the US, all this tax stuff does not make any sense. I think I'm gonna move on from that. I did file for an LLC because I just wanted Uncomfy to be separate from me if something bad were to happen. And each state has different rules for that. Like when I filed for my LLC, I also filed for a Colorado sales tax license. So it's just things like that that you really have to Google what are the requirements for your state or the country that you live in. I know this section may have been super confusing, and anything around money can sort of be anxiety inducing. So I just really want to end with this. Taxes and getting certain licenses to sell in your state. Everything that comes with being self-employed. It's confusing, but you'll get used to it. So yeah, don't let taxes stress you out. I think that was all the questions relating to money. So now we're gonna go on to the next topic. I'd like to know if you could explain how you got started, what really compelled you to begin your own business. I have the worst time with inertia, and I'd like to know how you overcame that, especially since you are a self-confessed nervous personality. Yes, I'm pretty uncomfy. Like, this whole filming experience is very uncomfortable for me still. I guess it all has to do with my background and my experiences with having a regular job. I started working since I was 15 years old. My first job was at a baseball stadium, and I worked at a berry kebab stand. My job was to stick strawberries and bananas on sticks and drizzle them with chocolate and to sell them to drunk people at a baseball game. My second job after that was a hostess at Zoe's Kitchen, and then I worked as a cashier at my parents' business. They had a nail supply store. I also worked as a server. And that same year was also my first year of college, so I was working a work-study job on campus. I worked at a Center of Identity Inclusion, basically helping run events for POC on campus, designing posters for it. Then I had my first job as a designer. I worked at an interdisciplinary design center on campus. I was basically a UX UI designer working with engineering students to make these community projects come to life. And while I was doing that, I worked at Meow Wolf Denver. I was an intern there. I helped build a lot of the sections and like stick flowers on the walls and stuff. While I was doing all that stuff, I did a bit of freelance graphic design. Nothing huge, just like friends and family asking me to design logos or art for them. But yeah, all this to say, I had a lot of work experience working with a boss, with coworkers on a set schedule. But finally, during the pandemic, when me and my friend started selling polymer clay charms and making a business out of it, I just knew this is what I wanted to do because it was all I could think about. I was pretty obsessed with growing uncomfy, and I'm the type of person who has to do something that they're passionate about. I'm not the type of person that can just work a job that I don't care about. I can't not like what I do. If you're having trouble starting something, I would say start it as a hobby, something with really low stakes. Start something with your friend even, start something with your mom or your dad. Just have it as a passion project. And I think the best small businesses that I've seen has always started off from something that they truly loved. But as a nervous or uncomfy personality, of course you're gonna be scared to do it. And I think that all comes back to a fear of failure or a fear of being seen and a fear of being judged. But what you need to realize is that life is short. And I truly don't care about any of the people who follow me from high school. Make a new Instagram account. Don't follow anyone that you know. Just follow other small businesses that you want to be friends with and grow on your own terms without any shame, because when you first start off, no one's gonna see it anyway, so just have fun with it. Dealing with anxiety and life stuff and starting a small business can feel very overwhelming. How do you manage to take it one step at a time without putting too much pressure on yourself? Your art and your videos are so comforting. Thank you for that. I'm so glad you find them comforting. That's all I want these videos to be. Funny you ask, because I put way too much pressure on myself. For example, when it comes to money, I put a lot of pressure on myself to take care of my family and to take care of my parents. And I take pride in being able to pay their phone bills, stuff like that. It got to a point where I was putting so much pressure on myself to make more and more money because I thought if I didn't give them money, they wouldn't love me. And obviously I wouldn't admit it at that point, but I think when you're growing up and you have the responsibility of taking care of the finances, taking care of yourself, taking care of others, it becomes really, really taxing, especially when you're self-employed. The amount of money you make is dependent on how much you work, really. So if I just work harder and I'll make more money, then I'll be more worthy, but it's never enough. I really had this conversation with my parents, and I finally understood that they still love me no matter what. That I'm worthy of love, even if I'm not exceptional. And even just saying that makes me choke up. So I've been doing a lot of work on myself and like writing down my affirmations and listening to affirmations and really, really reassuring myself that everything will be okay. Sort of along the same lines of that is, how do you balance all the work you do with school? Do you function best when you schedule or plan everything out, or when things are more open-ended or unscheduled? I get really anxious and overwhelmed with a high level of schedule and order. I need space to be intuitive, but also I'm not always very productive. How do you balance that with all the work you do, both in and out of school? I can really relate to you when it comes to just wanting to be intuitive about your day. Rowena actually had a really good video about this when she was talking about how she plans out her weekend. But the way I function best is when I get all the junk out of my head onto paper or onto my phone. I set my biggest priorities, like the things I absolutely have to do, down on my planner, so I know I have to do it that day. And then on my phone recently, I've been having like this like crazy psychopathic list of everything that I do, like wake up, brush your teeth, work out, shower, eat breakfast, check emails. The list goes on and on. And I like having that list because when I check that off, it makes me feel accomplished for every little thing I do. Like, it adds just as much importance to eating breakfast as there is to do my homework or submit a video. So that's like one side of my personality who likes everything planned out. But I realized that nothing goes as planned. If I plan on sculpting but it's a super sunny day and I want to film, then I'll film and then I'll sculpt my orders later at night. And that's what I love about being self-employed, is that I have so much freedom to rearrange my schedule. I don't have any annoying Zoom meetings to attend or anything. Can you show a behind the scenes of how you vlog and get the great detailed shots? Sure. This is my vlogging setup. I use the Amazon Basics tripod. It's pretty good. I love this like cranky lever thing it does. This is the camera that I use. It's the Canon EOS 80D, and it's like the creative kit that came with a ton of adjustable lenses. But the main lens that I use to get all the detail shots is this really big lens. It's the 18 by 35 millimeter lens, and it has the capability to zoom a lot. So this is what it usually looks like when I'm filming myself sculpt polymer clay. And I also use this lens to vlog. I feel like with the bigger DSLRs like these, you can get a lot of depth of field that like the smaller vlogging cameras just like wouldn't have. For the longest time, I did want to buy the Sony ZV-1 or something like that. The camera that I have, the 80D, it actually came out in 2016, so it's 7 years old. It does not shoot in 4K, it only goes up to 1080p, but I'm actually really happy with this camera. I also just use my iPhone. This camera on the tripod, it stays here. I do not take it outside, it's way too big for that, but my iPhone, it's perfect. I film on 4K on my iPhone 13 Pro. Honestly, the picture quality is amazing. You can still get depth of field. Like in my sculpting in a cafe video, I was just filming on this phone on a small desk tripod and it worked great. As far as audio, I recently upgraded to the Rode Mic Pro, but yeah, that's how I film my videos. So now these are just some random personal artsy questions. How did you know you wanted to be a clay artist? Do you have any other hobbies that you're planning to turn into a business? Or have you tried making other types of art before coming to realize clay artist is what you wanted to be? I come from a family of artisans. My grandpa is an amazing artist. He loves to engrave things on wood, and my uncle is also a skilled miniature artist. He made like little ships, and my cousin was an amazing painter, and I just come from a family of artists. It's truly heartwarming when I think about it. Growing up, I had never met my relatives, and I only found out when I was 20 years old that I'm just like them. Like, my whole family in Vietnam loves art. It was just like something that was meant to be. So when it came to medium, I think my first love was actually drawing and painting. And I still want to explore more oil painting because I took an oil painting class last semester and it's really fun. But polymer clay was something that I had done since I was 9 years old. I stopped doing it because I grew out of it, and then I found it again as a 19-year-old and I still love it. Eventually I want to make bigger pieces. I want to start throwing on the wheel and making ceramics, but I think there's something so special about polymer clay, about how accessible it is, that you can make something in your home kitchen oven oven. The people in the polymer clay community who make miniatures are so talented, and you can make anything you want with polymer clay. It's amazing. Just for fun, do you know any of your personal theory types? Learning about types that are similar to me as a still fully original and unique human has been really helpful for me in finding more comfy and less uncomfy. As of now, I only know my 16 personalities result, and according to that test, I'm an assertive advocate, or INFJ-A. Assertive advocates are introverted, intuitive, feeling, judging, and assertive. They approach life with thoughtfulness and imagination, guided by their principled version of humanism. INFJs may be the rarest personality type of all, but they certainly leave their mark on the world. Idealistic and principled, they aren't content to coast through life. They want to stand up and make a difference. For advocate personalities, success doesn't come from money or status, but from seeking fulfillment, helping others, and being a force for good in the world. I really hope this video helped you a lot. Whether or not you're thinking about starting a business or becoming an artist, have confidence in yourself. Trust yourself, trust the universe, and any time you spend on your craft or your business, none of that is wasted. You will bear the fruits of your labor in time. Thanks for watching.
Rusty red on her shoulder, I was cleaning her shoe when it clicked on the trot over in the bright morning dew. We brushed and we braided dandelions and chewed. It was a mutual